Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something I think everyone has felt at some point, being stuck. We're going to break down a really powerful way to find your path and just start moving, even when you have no clue which way to go.
All right, so let's get right into it. We've all had that feeling, right? Just completely paralyzed by indecision, terrified of making the wrong move. So the big question is, how do you break out of that? How do you go from being totally stuck to actually doing something, even when you're almost certain you're going to get it wrong?
Well, it turns out it all starts with something really, really small. Think of it like a little glimmer you see off in the distance. A tiny spark of interest, a sudden curiosity about something. Anything that just grabs your attention, even for a second. And here's the thing, that's not random. That's a signal.
So that glimmer, it actually has a pretty fascinating name, circumambulation. Now, I know, it sounds super mystical, but it's actually a deeply biological idea. The concept is that your brain is literally wired to notice the exact things that will help you grow and develop. So, in a very, very real sense, that genuine interest you feel, that's your internal compass pointing the way.
Okay, so the path forward seems simple then, right? Just follow that glimmer, follow what you're genuinely interested in. But the second you decide to do that, one of the biggest, most universal human roadblocks slams right down in front of you. And what is that roadblock? It's fear, plain and simple. It's that voice in your head that says, that idea is so stupid, or you're going to try this and you're going to be terrible at it. It's the fear of looking like a complete and utter fool.
And you know what the proper response to that fear is? You're right. Your idea is probably stupid at first. Let's be real, the chances of getting something totally new right on the first try are, well, they're basically zero. And look, if you wait around for that perfect, genius, foolproof idea to strike, you might just wait forever. You'll become what some people call a 40-year-old, 13-year-old, always on the verge of starting, but never actually starting.
And this brings us to an absolutely critical point. You have to be willing to be a fool. You just have to, because it is so much better to do something badly than to do nothing at all. I mean, think about it. Every single master of anything was once a total disaster, right?
And this, right here, is what that foolish process actually looks like in practice. We all have this idea that progress is this nice, clean, straight line from A to B. But that's not how it works. Not at all. In reality, you start moving from A, but you probably overshoot your target and end up way over at point C. But guess what? That's not a failure. That's data. You learn something, you correct your course, and that mistake is actually what helps you finally find your way to B.
There's actually a fantastic metaphor for this whole journey. Think about the story of Exodus. Step 1 is escaping tyranny, and for you, that's leaving behind your old limiting beliefs and habits. But here's the crucial part. You don't immediately arrive in the promised land. Oh no, you first have to wander through the desert. And that desert, that's the period of uncertainty, of feeling lost and confused. It's a totally necessary part of the process, and you have to go through it before you can find your new, better path forward.
Okay, so if the path forward is all about stumbling around like a fool and wandering through the desert, how do you make sure you're not just lost forever? How do you give all that chaotic movement some kind of direction? Well, you have to define some aims, some goals that you actually genuinely care about.
And here's why having that direction is so incredibly powerful. It's not just some nice idea, it's neuroscience. When you set a goal that you truly value, your brain's incentive reward system, your dopamine system, literally kicks in. It makes the tiny little steps you take toward that goal feel meaningful and rewarding. If you don't have a goal you value, you get no positive motivation. But with one, even the smallest bit of progress feels good, and that's what keeps you moving.
So where do you even start with setting these aims? Well, you can start by thinking about these key areas of your life and ask yourself a serious question. If I were taking the best possible care of myself, what would I want my life to look like in, say, 3 to 5 years? And don't be vague. Get specific. What would a great career really look like? What kind of friendships would you want to have? Now, as you start to build this vision for your future, there's one final crucial test. You have to look at this life you've just imagined for yourself and ask this very honest question. If I could actually have this as a result of my own effort, would it be worth it? Would it be worth the struggle, the hard work, the inevitable suffering that comes with trying to do anything worthwhile? The whole point is to craft a vision for your life that is so compelling. The answer to that question is an absolute, undeniable yes.
Okay, so we've got the vision, but let's get down to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle. A grand, beautiful vision for your future is, well, it's pretty much useless if it doesn't change what you do tomorrow. So how do we translate this big dream into daily reality? The answer is a schedule. But, and this is a big but, most of us get schedules completely wrong. We treat them like a bloody prison, right? A list of all the terrible things we have to do. The real trick is to flip that around. You need to set up a schedule for the day that you would actually want to have.
And the way you do that is by treating it like a negotiation. Look, you have to be honest with yourself. You're a bad employee, and you're an even worse boss to yourself. You're not just going to do what you're told, so you have to bargain. Ask yourself, what's the right ratio of responsibility to reward for tomorrow? Maybe that's an hour of hard work, followed by 15 minutes of something you actually enjoy. You're trying to find a balance that makes you want to follow the plan, not have to.
And remember our big lesson from earlier. You have to be willing to be a fool. You're going to be bad at this at first. So what if you only hit your ideal schedule with, like, 50% accuracy? That 50% beats the hell out of the 0% you were doing before. And then next week, you just aim for 51%. It's those tiny, tiny improvements that create a positive feedback loop and start spiraling you upward.
You know, if all that positive motivation isn't quite enough to get you going, let's just think for a second about the cost of doing nothing. Let's put an actual price tag on it. Let's say, very conservatively, that your time is worth $50 an hour. If you waste 6 hours a day, which is not hard to do, that's almost $2,000 a week you're losing. And over a year, that's $100,000. That is the real, tangible, cold hard cash cost of staying stuck.
So let's wrap this all up. We know now that the path forward is messy. We know you're supposed to get it wrong at first, and we know for a fact that it is infinitely better to do something badly than to do nothing at all. So, with all that in mind, I have one last question for you. What's one small, imperfect, maybe even foolish step you can take right now, today, to start moving?